How's it going, everyone? Welcome back. So today's video we're looking at the best cards to craft for beginners in Gwent the Witcher card game. We're going to be looking at all the factions apart from Syndicate, Skellige, Northern Realm, Scoia'tael, Nilfgaard monsters, as well as the neutral cards that are good to craft. We're not looking at Syndicate because we don't have a starter deck. We have 0 cards for that. So for beginners, not a worthwhile venture to go into at this current time. So before we head into what cards to craft, there are a couple of things I need to talk about. The first thing is, in order to craft cards, we use the resource scraps, and you can get scraps in multiple ways. The main two would be when you get duplicate cards from kegs, they get auto decrafted and you'll get some scraps from that. And also the reward book has a lot of scraps that you can access. But you can get it from daily logins, you can get it from arena runs, you can get it from other little sources as well. So you will get scraps as you go. Now, the cost of the cards, that depends on the rarity of the cards. So there's 4 rarities in Gwent. There's common, rare, epic, and legendary. And you can tell what rarity the card is by the little gem in the top left-hand corner of the card. The color discerns to the rarity of that card and the cost it costs to craft. So commons cost 30 scraps, the rares cost 80, the epics cost 200, and the legendaries cost 800 to craft. So while I don't recommend crafting any commons or rares, in this video we are going to solely look at epics and legendaries because they're the best things to craft. Don't craft any commons or rares unless on a push that you need it to finish a deck and you want to play that deck now. For example, if you build a KingBlackToof deck and you've got loads of these cool epics and legendaries and other cards that work with it, but you haven't actually got the KingBlackToof, which are commons or rares, I forget. You could craft them. There's an argument to be said you could craft them so you could play with that deck now. But you probably will get them in kegs at some point. So generally speaking, the rule of thumb is don't craft commons or rares. And the last thing I want to say before we go into it is epics cost 200 and legendaries cost 800. The power of those is not always super evident. So there will be some points you have to consider whether it is worth spending 800 scraps to get 1 gold, or you can spend the same amount of scraps and get 4 golds, 200 epic a piece. So I think for a beginner it'd be very good to get 4 epics than 1 legendary, but depends what you want, and we'll talk as we go through that. So let's head in, shall we? So first of all, we'll start on the neutral cards, and the first neutral card that pretty much everyone crafts is Royal Decree. This is a legendary, so it costs 800. So this is a good investment for every single deck ever that you'll ever play. It allows you to pull any unit from your deck. So, units are good, and this helps you get anyone that you want. So it's just a really nice card to have. It costs 800, so it's not necessary that you buy it now, but it will help consistency, which even for a beginner is a big deal because you can't get through your entire deck. On a similar vein to that, you've got Mata Huhuri. She is similar to Royal Decree. She pulls the highest cost card for you and the lowest cost card from the opponent's deck for them. So while it's not quite the same, you get 6 points as well. She's lower provisions. A lot of decks can use this because the card that you really want is the highest cost card in your deck. And she enables a lot of really good plays around scenarios and stuff. So she's also a really good one to get, but she is legendary as well. So bear in mind she's going to cost 800. So the next card is Maral. This guy on deploy poisons an enemy unit, and on order the next turn, or if you've got Zeal, poisons an enemy unit. Now, some of the top tier decks use this. Nilfgaard top tier deck can use this. Scoia'tael top tier deck can use this with poison if they want to add that in. But other decks like Skellige, Northern Realms, and Monsters don't use poison very often. Northern Realms could use this by giving it Zeal, either from their leader ability or from other cards. So it's got a broad appeal of being a self-contained card that can do the job on its own. But it does fit in some other really good decks from other factions as well. It is a legendary, so it costs 800. I do think like the ones I've mentioned previously are a bit more important than this one, but it's still a very good card in general. So the next card is Geralt Igni, and this one, when you play it, it destroys the highest power units on an enemy row with a total of 35 power or more. Now, if it's got initiative, which means it's the first thing you play, so you have to play it from hand as your first thing, you destroy the highest power units on an enemy row with a total of 20 or more power on that row. So this, if like they're lining up 5 8s, you can destroy all of those. So it's really can have a really high ceiling. You have to work a little bit for it. A lot of new players and medium players, pretty much everybody is surprised when Geralt Igni comes along. Only the top people would probably be able to avoid it efficiently. And even then they're surprised because not many people play it. So it's a card which has seen some nerfs recently, but it's still a useful card. It is a legendary, so I would probably not use it, but it is self-contained. It can go in any deck that you play ever, so consider it if you want. So next up is Triss Telekinesis. She creates and plays a bronze special card from either player's starting deck. So a really nice, broad, flexible card that can go in pretty much any deck. The only real requirement is that you put a bronze special card in your starting deck. It does pull from the opponent's starting deck as well, but you don't really want to rely on that. So she's just got some great flexibility. If you're playing Skellige and you need to resurrect something, she could probably pull that up. If you've got an Owl's Thunder and you need a removal, she could do that. So she's got the great flexibility. She is a legendary, so she costs 800, but she's a really nice card that a lot of people still use to this day. Okay, so we're going to move over to monster cards. These are monster specific. So bear in mind, if you see these in a keg, you want to get them or you can craft them. So the first card that we're going to look at is Nilfgaard. This is a 13 strength card. Gain armor equal to the number of cards in hand. If this unit has no armor, destroy it. So you want to play this either very early in a round, so it's got like 8 armor or something, or play it as your last but 1 card, so your penultimate card. So it gets 1 armor. Now, the ways you can counteract this is by consuming it with your leader ability or with another card on the board, or if it gets locked or something, then it won't destroy self. And it just puts a massive body on the board straight away. And even if they destroy it, it puts a massive body in your graveyard so you can consume it with Scoia'tael, which is a starting card. So this card is really good and fits into pretty much any monster deck. It is a legendary, so it costs 800, and there are some good epics to come that only cost 200. So while it is a great card, and I would recommend crafting it, just be considerate that you can get 4 times as many golds for a really new beginner for the same cost as this card. Okay, so the next card that for monsters is an epic card, so it only costs 200, and it kind of combos with a lot of other cards that you'll see in a second too. Penitent. This has Thrive and Death Wish. Summon a random 7-cost minion from your deck to a random allied row. So you put it on the board and you thrive it up, or if they destroy it or you eat it, then it pulls something, summons something from your deck. And there are 2 cards which go along with it really well, and that's Pugo Boombreaker, which is a 10 strength card that costs 7, so he comes out. Damage a random allied unit by 3. If there are no allies, damage self by 5. Now, the issue with Penitent, which actually is a positive, is that when you summon a card from your deck, they don't do their deploy ability. So you do need to be very careful about that. But that's why pulling Pugo Boombreaker and his negative deploy ability, it cancels it out. So Penitent and Pugo Boombreaker, they're both epics, so it costs 400 to get them both, and they're really, really good together. To go alongside that, we've got a second 7-cost card, which works well with Penitent, and that is the Beast. At the end of your turn, if this unit is not the unit with the highest power on the battlefield, boost it by 2. So as soon as you place it down, providing something else bigger on the battlefield, which is normally going to be the case, especially if you're playing Nilfgaard that we saw before, you've consumed something with Scoia'tael, the opponent's got a high strength minion, or you've consumed something, so you've got a high strength minion, he will get good value, and he gets pulled out by Penitent. He doesn't lose any deploy ability, he still boosts at the end of the turn, so he's really, really good. Although it is better to pull out Pugo Boombreaker to negate that negative. That is an epic, costs 200, so you can get the whole Penitent combo of Penitent, the Beast, and Pugo Boombreaker for 600 scraps, which is a very good deal, and will improve a lot of monster decks. Now, the only stipulation is that you need to be able to kill the Penitent, which probably will be a consume kill. Not all monsters decks use that, but pretty much most of them do. So it's a very good deal. The next card I'm going to recommend is Parasite. This is an epic card, so it costs 200 as well. You can damage an enemy by 6 or boost an allied unit by 6. This card just has good flexibility if you want that dominance to keep the beast boosting, for example, or for any other reasons. But also 6 damage allows you to remove something very important from the opponent. And I think Parasite goes in a lot of monster decks just for its flexibility of boost or damage. It's also an organic card. I think monsters can pull organics. We haven't really seen that card, but that is a card that exists. I think it's the Wispess. So just be aware of that as well. The next card I'm going to recommend is Ada Striga. This, on deploy, damages an enemy unit by 2, which isn't too great. But if it has dominance, it damages it by 4 instead. Now, every faction has got like a gold card which can do 4 damage. And this one is probably one of the best ones. Provision cost is severely lower than other faction versions, and it's 5 strength plus 4, so he's worth 9. The dominance isn't very hard to do. Now, the main reason that we want the 4 strength is to remove an engine. That is pretty much the only reason. If you can't kill something, it's not worth taking. However, if he places a 4 strength unit, and then we play this 5 strength unit, it will count itself as having dominance. Okay, so even if he places a 5 strength unit, and you match his strength with this card, it still counts as having dominance because you have the highest, one of the highest units on the board. So it counts itself, so you get the 4 damage easily, and so therefore it's worth a lot of value and will most likely always get the value it needs. So next up we've got Caranthea. This is a legendary, so it costs 800. This card spawns a 1 power base copy of a unit in your hand in this row, and it can copy golds as well. So you find a gold which is going to be really good, even if it is 1 power, and then you make a copy of it. And then you can use a leader ability to consume Caranthea and replay him. And so you can get a second 1 power copy of a card in your hand. And then you can play the copy of the card in your hand anyway. So you can have 3 copies of a really powerful gold card. For example, you could use it on Living Armor. You could use it on the Beast, because then that would buff itself over time. You could use it on Gels, so you get loads of Death Wish procs. So it's got some really good deck-defining abilities, this card. Now, it is a legendary, it costs 800. You do need to have those other really good golds for it to be effective. And it doesn't fit in every single deck that Monsters has. So it doesn't have the biggest broad appeal. So it is a very good card and deck-defining card. But don't build it as the very first one, because it's not going to be very good use to you. There's some other ones that I've recommended which are better than this, but it's still a very good card to look out for if you've got a decent collection and you want to have some really good fun with Caranthea. So finally, I'm just going to put in as an honorable mention, this is actually a rare card, Andraga Lava. It's Thrive, spawn a base copy of this unit and summon it to this row. This is probably one of the better rares in the game. Don't craft this, but if you see it in a keg, definitely get it. It's like the Neckers, but it's armored. And pretty much every monster deck can make use of this. It's got a very low cost, but it has a very high ceiling when you're playing a game. It's hard to remove for opponents because of the 2 armor. So it's just a really, really good card to get hold of and use. So if you see it, get it. I wouldn't recommend crafting it. Save your scraps for some of the epics that we've seen today so far. So we're going to move on to Nilfgaard now, and the first gold that I'm going to recommend is Damien Delatour. This is a legendary, so it will cost 800. He's got an order on the melee row, re-enable your leader's ability. Now, that is just really powerful in itself. Okay, a lot of Nilfgaard decks use Damien Delatour. Now, he's very vulnerable himself, so he's vulnerable to movement, he's vulnerable to 5 damage, he's vulnerable to locks. So you do need some way of protecting him. And that will lead me on to the next card that I'm going to recommend, which is Theon Vargaenil. It's a 2 strength defender. So this is a great way of protecting Damien Delatour. And he also spawns and plays a battle preparation, which is basically a 5 strength boost. And if it hits the soldier, then it also gives it extra armor. And so this guy turns into like a 7/4. And so it's really, really good way and a very strong defender to defend against Damien Delatour. They may try and remove this card, and they spend all the removal trying to remove this guy. So this guy is a very good craft. He is a legendary, so it costs 800 again. The next card is Masquerade Ball. Now, this is a legendary, so it costs 800. This is our first scenario of this video. It's a very powerful. The top tier Nilfgaard decks use Masquerade Ball. They may even use it twice in a game, so it's a very powerful card. The thing that needs to be said is that you do need to have a decent amount of aristocrats in order to actually trigger Chapter 1 and Chapter 2. Okay, but it's a very powerful card. Just be aware that it is 800 scraps and you do need aristocrats, so it's probably not going to be top on the list of cards to craft, but it's definitely one to go for when you start getting a sizable amount of aristocrats that you can play. So next we've got Yennefer's Invocation. Place an enemy unit at the top of your deck. This is a legendary, so it costs 800 again. Hopefully we'll get some epics on this list, but people use it to just remove any card from the opponent's board, and you can put it on the top. If you do it on a previous round, or if you've got some way to draw it after the fact, you can actually play their most powerful card as well. It's just an all-around really good removal tool that can also feed into being a really good play tool. If you remove one of their really strong units, you can actually play it yourself. And a lot of people use this, so it's a very good card to craft. Next up is Van Morlehem's Cupbearer. This has Assimilate, so when you play a card not in your starting faction, he'll get buffed. But also, if you place him on the melee, he poisons a unit, and if you play him on range, he purifies a unit. So, really good flexibility on poisoning and purifying, but he's also an epic, so he costs 200. A lot of top tier decks use this guy because poison is very prevalent. Got it, yeah. Poison's very prevalent, so he's just very useful, and he's pretty good. He's got some extra high ceiling with the Assimilate, and he can go in pretty much a lot of decks. Now, bear in mind, if you want to make use of poison, you do have to have other poison cards as well, but it's a good investment. Lastly, we've got Roderick of Duntine. He is also an epic card. 2 strength. He's spying, so you play that 2 strength on the opponent's side. But you look at 2 random gold cards from your deck and play one. His provisions are very low. He's kind of like Royal Decree, but he's Nilfgaard only. And you give the opponent points, but is a way to get hold of some of your gold cards, you know. He is also an aristocrat, so he triggers the Masquerade Ball that we looked at earlier. So he's a very good card because of all these things coming together. Looking at other gold cards, being an aristocrat, and being cheap provisions, and being a tutor. Okay. So moving on to Scoia'tael now. The first card, and the card that everyone has in their deck all the time, is the Great Oak. Deploy damage an enemy unit by the number of cards to the left of the Great Oak, and then boost south by the number of cards to the right of the Great Oak. So that basically is flexibility. It's a very powerful card. It costs a lot. It is legendary as well, so it will cost you 800. But basically you stack up on a row, and then you can do damage or buffing depending on whereabouts you place this unit in the row. So it allows you to do the perfect amount of damage and get the most optimal amount of buff as well. And basically it's such a powerful card when it's played against you and stuff that it instantly turns the tide of the match. So it's a great card. Everyone should get that if you're playing Scoia'tael a lot. The next card is Vernociel. Deploy on the melee. Each allied Elven Deadeye damages a random enemy by 2. If you're placed on the ranged, spawn 2 Elven Deadeyes on this row. Elven Deadeyes are 3 strength units. This card also basically turns the tide of a match. In a long round, you've got leader cards which spawn Elven Deadeyes. You've got some other bronze cards which spawn Elven Deadeyes. You'll probably have about 6 or 7 or 8. And so 2 times that, 16 damage plus the 5. It becomes really powerful. And it's a round winner, this card, so definitely worth a purchase. It is legendary, however. So next up, we've got Isengrim Faoltiana. I'm going to assume that's right, but he, on deploy, boosts all other allied elf units by 1. And whenever you play an elf, he boosts south by 1. So again, it's got the flexibility. You can put him sort of in the middle of the round, and he'll boost really high whenever you play an elf. Or if you don't think anything's getting removed, you can play all your elves, and then play him at the end to get +1 on all of them. And basically, it comes down to being like a round pusher card, very much like Vernociel that we saw with the Elven Deadeyes. Elven Deadeyes are elves, so it kind of allows you to play loads of Elven Deadeyes, play Isengrim, boost them all by 1, and then play Vernociel, and they all shoot an enemy. It's a really powerful combo. He is legendary, but those two go together really well with the Elven Deadeye sort of deck. The next one is Waters of Broccolon. I will recommend this. Spawn 2 Dryad Fledglings onto the row. This is a legendary. Dryad Fledglings are 4 strength with Harmony. There is a leader ability to be able to play a special card from your graveyard. So a strategy is to get into round 3, play Waters of Broccolon to get 2 Dryad Fledglings. Use your leader ability to get another 2 Dryad Fledglings, and then you've got 4 Harmony things that are all just going to boost up, and it's really hard to deal with. So it's definitely a very good strategy card that basically enables an entire deck, but it is legendary as well. Next, I want to recommend Ilarion. This is a legendary gold card as well. So if on the turn end you control 5 or more allied elves, summon this unit from your deck to the melee row. So this is just a really nice card. It's like Roach, but just better. It just comes out of the deck when you've got 5 elves, and it really kind of throws your opponent off. So if they're just trying to keep above you or below you in strength, you can sort of time this so it comes out and just completely screws them over in terms of how much strength they were trying to conserve and keep and push and stuff. So it's a very good card, and it thins your deck as well. So it's really nice. Now, the cost of 800, it'll go in every Scoia'tael deck if they're running at least some elves. But 800 is quite expensive, so just be aware of that. Next up, I do want to recommend the Treant Boar. Gain Zeal if you control a Dryad. On the melee, move south to the range row and heal. On the range row, move south to the melee row and damage an enemy by 2. You can do that every turn. He's an epic, so it only costs 200, and it's just a nice card that can be difficult to deal with some people. You do get to choose what you damage. If you've got another card which can move the Treant, you can kind of subvert the movement and heal if it hasn't been damaged, and just keep doing the 2 damage every turn, which is kind of cool. It means that the opponent can't destroy it if they can't kill it in 1 hit. You know, they can't, because it'll heal itself. And next up, we've got Weeping Willow, which is another epic for 200. It's got Harmony. Deploy on the melee, gain a shield. Deploy on the range, poison an enemy unit. It's just a nice, versatile card that you can use it for just straight points with the shield and the Harmony, or you can poison if there's other bronzes that you've got in your deck in Scoia'tael that have poison. There have been other poisons. There was a neutral poison that I recommended as well. So poison could be something you want to go in for, and the Weeping Willow is relatively cheap for that. Next up, I'm going to recommend Melena. This is an epic, so it costs 200. It has Zeal. Order, move a unit to the other row. It can be ally or enemy. It's really annoying card, really annoying. It's only got 4 health, but like moving the opponent means that you stop row lock specific abilities. You could move your Treant Boar so that you negate the healing aspect because you don't need it, and you can just constantly do the 2 damage. It's just a really annoying card that you have to use removal on, but there's other things that need to be removed that are more important. So it's kind of like, ugh. So she's a really cool card to craft, and she only costs 200. So finally, we've got Terubiel. If deployed on the melee row, damage an enemy unit by the ends of the row by 2, or if deployed on the range, damage all units on a row by 1. So a really good way to push the end of a round because you can get a lot of value in a long round. Let's assume they've got 9 units, they've filled up the row, and that's going to be about 9 damage plus the 5. And if you combine that with Melena that we saw just a moment ago, you can kind of establish that they'll be stacking up on one row a lot more because you can keep moving them back. And you can get some decent value from her, and she's epic as well. Next up, we're going to look at Northern Realms. So the first Northern Realms card I'm going to recommend is Draug. This is a legendary card, so it costs 800. Transform all allied human units on this row into Kaedweni Revenants without changing their power. Kaedweni Revenants have a 1 damage ping. If they kill something, then they spawn another Revenant, which has that ability. And you can kind of chain a lot of them along. And you do a lot of damage, but you also get some extra units spawned on your side, which can do a bit more damage. So it's just a really good card. I think pretty much most of the Northern Realms decks use Draug. So he's really, really good in that respect. Now, the next card is Philippa, Blind Fury. Another legendary card. Damage an enemy unit by 4, then damage a random enemy by 3, 2, 1. So she does 10 damage. You can only target where the 4 is going to go. But she's basically a removal. Use her towards the start of a round. You can kind of guarantee where the damage goes, and hopefully you can remove like 2 or 3 things with it. She's just a great card for that purpose. She can go in every Northern Realms deck. She could be like pinged with your own Kaedweni Revenants, because the Kaedweni Revenants can ping their own units, and if they ping her, her value is finished at that point, and you can get a new Kaedweni Revenant from it. So that's pretty cool. She's also a human, so she can turn into a Kaedweni Revenant as well. So another card that's worth crafting is Roach Merciless. Deploy, damage an enemy unit by 2. If it kills something, he gains Zeal, and he has the order ability to spawn a Blue Stripes Commando and summon it to this row. So he creates a new Blue Stripes Commando. Blue Stripes Commando is a great way to thin your deck, and pretty much every Northern Realms deck uses them. He's able to spawn a new one, so you'll get 2 other ones come out. So he's worth like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He's worth about 10. And then if you use the Blue Stripes ability, he kind of gets another 8 out of the deck for free. So it's like a really decent card that allows for thinning. He's got some really good strategies on getting those blue stripes, because that is one type of deck you could go for. You know, the blue stripes are really instrumental in Drow because it fills up your row with humans very quickly. So Drow can be used very quickly. So Roach Merciless is just a great card. He is legendary and costs 800. Right, the next cards worth crafting are Falibor, a legendary, damage an enemy unit by 3. And then if you kill something with that 3, you can do it again, but do 2 damage, and then do it again, but 1 damage, if you keep killing things. He's just a removal card. He's worth a lot of value when played, and he can go in any deck. There's not really much synergy with him. He's just remove cards and do loads of deck value to be able to push around. He is legendary, costs 800. Next card is Queen Adalia. She is a legendary 800. She is really good. Even though she doesn't seem it, she spawns and plays a base copy of a bronze unit from your hand and then gives it shield. This is actually really important, probably one of the first Northern Realms ones that you want to try and get, because she just enables so many tactics for Northern Realms. Northern Realms power generally comes from a lot of their bronzes that are either engine cards, Temerian Infantryman, Temerian Drummer, whether it be Blue Stripes Commando or something like that. Basically, she enables you to just get another one out and it's defended. Really enables you to start getting your units on the board, so the opponent can't just remove them all the time. So really good craft. She costs 800 though. So the next card is Prince on Size. This has formation, damage a unit by 4, an enemy unit. If it's inspired, it duels the enemy instead. So this unit is in pretty much every Northern Realms deck. It's just a good removal tool, and you have to, you know, you can give it Zeal if you put it on the melee row, so it can just do 4 damage. So you can give it Zeal and then boost it by 1 to get it inspired, or you can put it on the back row and give it Zeal, so it's inspired and can work straight away. And it's just a really valuable tool in every Northern Realms deck. So worth crafting, but cost 800. So next up, we've got Donimir of Troy. This is a 7 strength, 2 armored defender with shield. A very powerful card because it's got shield and it's got defender. Northern Realms, like I said, are very into their bronzes engines. So having a defender is very important for Northern Realms. This is legendary and costs 800. So I do want to mention Princess Pavetta. She is an epic, so it costs 200. Shuffle a bronze unit and all copies of it from your graveyard into your deck. This enables a big strategy for one particular Northern Realms deck. I wouldn't suggest you craft it unless you want to go for that strategy and you've got a lot of the cards already. But definitely look out for her. If you see her in a keg, she is a very notable card to get. And when you've got a lot of Blue Stripes Commandos and Blue Stripes Scouts, basically then you can go for Princess Pavetta if you want to try and get that strategy. So the next card is Visegard. He has formation, so he gets Zeal on the melee row if he wants. Gain charge equal to the number of boosted allied units. Damage an enemy by 1 and has 1 charge by himself. So he's not very good if you've only got 1 charge, but hopefully you play him towards the end where you've got a lot of boosted units and then you can get like a lot of extra value from him. He's pretty nice. He is epic, so he's a nice cost as well in terms of scraps, and you can get some decent stuff. And he goes in a lot of Northern Realms decks because a lot of Northern Realms decks do boosting. Okay, and the next one is Reinforcements. This is a warfare card. Don't generally think loads of people use it because of that, but it spawns and plays a base copy of a bronze allied unit. Just like that woman, Queen Adalia, was useful. This guy creates a new copy of a bronze card, so you could have another Temerian drummer, you could have another Trident infantryman, and so because Northern Rounds are so dependent on their bronzes, reinforcements will work in pretty much any Northern Rounds deck. So reinforcements is a very good card, it's pretty cheap, and it's an epic as well for 200. Okay, I think finally we're in Skellige territory. So this card is Heimdall. Deal 1 damage to a random enemy unit in a row, multiplied by the number of units on that row. So the most value you can get is 9 extra damage. And he just combos really well with other cards which boost when an enemy gets damaged on the opposite row or when they get damaged at all. He's a legendary, so he costs 800, but he's just a really nice card that generally gets a lot of value in a long round. So the next card is Gedeneath. This is a scenario, a second scenario in fact. Now, whenever you play a druid, it will progress this. This card is really powerful. You can actually complete this scenario in 1 turn. So it's a really good like 35, 40 point swing very quickly in 1 turn. Really good for a short round 3. There's a deck that's really well built around this. There's another deck that uses this a lot. So it's used in a lot of Skellige decks at the minute. And it is legendary, so it costs 800, and you do need druids in order to actually make this work. So just bear that in mind before you craft it, that you need to have the prerequisites before it's worth crafting, but it is a very good card. So the next card is Wild Boar of the Sea. If deployed on the melee, damage all damaged enemy units by 1, then damage all enemy units by 1 again. So obviously if you're keeping up with the Bloodthirst, it's better, because then you're going to get more from this first ping of 1 from damaged enemy units. But it can go in any Skellige deck. It's just good value for a long round where you've been pushed and you can put that down and get a lot of value from it. Combine it with something like Heimdall to get more damaged units on the board before you play. And it's just a really nice card for any Skellige deck, really. So the next card is Ceres on Crate, a legendary card. If deployed on the melee, you get a Drummond Shield Maiden in this row. If you deploy it on the range, you get a Drummond Queensguard. Now, Queensguard is a deck all of its own, which I find really good, and this card is instrumental to help you get enough Queensguard. So I really like it for that fact. But there's also just a broad Skellige strategy of spawn a Drummond Shield Maiden on this row. Drummond Shield Maiden, when damaged, will summon from your deck other Drummond Shield Maidens. So it's kind of like the Vernon Roach that we saw before. When you get a Drummond Shield Maiden on the board, you can like thin your deck a lot. And she's got versatility in that she can do both of these. So she's a really nice card, I think. So next up, I'm going to recommend Crow Mother. This is a legendary gold card as well. Spawn 2 crows on this row. Whenever you play an alchemy card, summon Crow Mother from your graveyard to a random allied row. The reason we're recommending her is because not only is she good for the beast archetype for Skellige, she works well with the scenario that we saw earlier, but she can work in any Skellige deck, because if you play an alchemy card, which are pretty much most of the Skellige special cards, so like Freya's Blessing or Sigurdrifa's Right, or anything that spawn crows or Mardrum or any of the sort of Skellige specialty things, that they're all alchemy cards, so she'll come out from the graveyard. So it's a nice way of getting carryover. If you play her in round 1, you can pull her out in round 2, and you can pull her out in round 3. So she's just a really good value card for any Skellige deck. Next up, we've got Dagger Two Blades. This is an epic, surprisingly. So when placed on the melee, whenever an enemy unit takes damage, boost south by 1. This works with Heimdall, it works with the Wild Boar of the Sea. There are certain leaders which give this a lot of value. It probably will get locked or reset or removed or moved to the range row so it doesn't work. But if you can place this down and then do something in the same turn with maybe your leader, it can get a lot of value. Or if they've removed a lot of other stuff that you play that you don't think they've got any removal left. It's still a really nice card and it's epic, surprisingly. So it can be pretty good. Next up, Morkvarg Heart of Terror. This is a legendary card, so it costs 800. Deploy, damage an enemy unit by 1, repeat until the target is damaged. So basically it keeps hitting them if they're boosted, and when it's damaged, goes into the red, then it stops. Basically really good for a lot of singular cards that pop up a lot. So Osrel, for example, that is a 1 strength card that boosts usually from Yughern, so it's 14. This will basically just kill it off. so you get a lot of value there. Anything that's been boosted tremendously high, he will just decimate them. So he's always going to really have some decent value in any particular game of Gwent. So it's a really good card to craft just for that. He works well with the dagger 2 blades that we saw before. If you can get that guy to stick, this guy can just do so much value, and it gets doubled because dagger, because he does 1 pings over and over and over again, which means dagger will get 1 buff over and over and over again. Now I do want to I want to give a mention to Lippy Gudmund, a legendary card. When deployed on the range, swap your graveyard with your deck. This is a very specific Skellige deck, but probably one of the better Skellige decks that are around. Don't craft this until you've got a lot of the cards necessary. You'll have to look online for those decks. But just remember that he is a notable card for Skellige at the minute. So if you see him in a keg and you want to sort of read into that, be aware that he is a notable card. The next card I'm going to recommend for Skellige is Ermion. A great card, pretty much goes in all Skellige decks. He is legendary. When played on the range row, he plays an alchemy card from your deck. So there's a lot of alchemy cards for Skellige, like I've mentioned. Giga Scorpion's Decoction, which is really good removal. You've got Freya's Blessing, which is a resurrection. You've got Sigdrifa's Right, which is a different type of resurrection. And these are all alchemy cards that he can pull. Now, that's just really good in on itself because it's very flexible on the removal, on the resurrects, but also it pulls out the Crow Mother. If you played her in a previous round, whenever you play an alchemy card, she comes out. So Ermion is just great and goes in any Skellige deck and very much worth a craft. So the next one I want to recommend is Giga Scorpion Decoction. This is one that we just mentioned, and it's an epic card, so it costs 200, but you damage a unit by 1 6 times. It's an alchemy card, so Ermion can pull it. It also will pull out the Crow Mother when you play it if she's in the graveyard. And also it works well with dagger 2 blades because it does 1 damage 6 times. So it's just a all around really good card, and 6 removal is really good to get rid of those really nasty engines from the opponent's side of the board. And finally, I'm going to recommend Gremist. This is an epic card, so it costs 200, has Zeal, Order on the range, Purify a unit, refresh this ability whenever you play an alchemy card. This is probably one of the better Purifies in the game. Purify deals with poison, which is quite common nowadays from Nilfgaard and Scoia'tael. Also deals with defenders, which is quite common for like Northern Realms and Syndicate and such. So it's just a really nice way of getting a repeatable Purify. One of the downsides to Gremist though is that he can't purify himself. So if someone, as soon as you put him down and poison some, like Purify a poison, someone's just going to try and kill Gremist or poison Gremist, and he can't, you know, ironic. He could save others, but not himself. That's epic, so it costs 200. So hopefully that video helped you. Now, I also hope that I made it clear that some of these are a lot better to craft than other ones. Some of them are better to craft for beginners because, you know, epics only cost 200, legendaries cost 800, so you have to kind of weigh up whether you want 4 epics or 1 legendary. But any questions, let me know in the comments below. And take care of yourselves, and I'll see you again next time. Cheers, guys.